This was Darren Aronofsky's first feature film, and I kind of really like it. I do like the film quite a bit, gave it a 4.5 stars here. It's the kind of movie that I definitely would want to make. I feel like I resonate with this movie quite a bit because being a wannabe filmmaker, plus in high school, I was also a big math guy, and I applied to universities and got in for film and for math and physics. And I decided to do the film one because, I'm smart. But I always thought, what would be the job that is a nice middle ground between film and math and physics? And I was always like, I could be the next Bill Nye the Science Guy. I could be the next Bill Nye. But having seen this movie, I really do resonate with just like the themes that are going on here and the craft, because it does feel like a filmmaker still trying to figure himself out, but having this very ambitious script and pulling it off with limited resources. You can definitely tell it's more low budget. I mean, like, this grainy black and white goes throughout the whole movie, and when it kind of descends into madness, it gets like even more dark, even more weird. And I really, really dug it. Like the sets in his apartment with just like random computer stuff everywhere, it looked really cool. And just like the experimental editing and directing that's going on here was just like, this is a guy trying to get his name out there, do something crazy with like, limited visual effects, very cool, like techie kind of imagery. And I thought it just worked so well for me personally. This movie is very smart, but also on the nose at the same time. I think that I really do like seeing this obsessive character who like is this math whiz. Little kids just come up to him and is like, hey, what is this math equation? And he knows it to like the millionth decimal point. And then, he's using his math ability to try to solve pi, try to, play the stock market. It's like, how does he make money? I don't know. The stock market, I guess. He's kind of just like in his house all the time. He has like these panic attacks. Things are going on. Before I get like 100% into spoilers, I think that's what I was saying about this movie being like very smart, but also very consumable at the same time. I think it's pretty clear to see the themes that it's dealing with. You might not notice them at the beginning of the movie, but as it unravels, I think it becomes pretty clear. And it's smart in the way that is very digestible for people, for anybody. Not just like people who are really into film and analyzing maybe like the surreal imagery that's going on there. I think that people could still get a lot from this just watching it casually. That being said, I wouldn't recommend it for everybody because, just like surreal stylistic movies like this are not for everybody. But at the same time, I think that's, this character is very clearly obsessive, and I think it plays with the fact that it is a film and story conventions and like an unreliable narrator. You can't trust him all the time. He's obsessive. He's going crazy. The images that you see, some of them aren't real. Some of them aren't actually happening. He's having these panic attacks. He's having these weird dreams. But you can still piece things together. There's a lot of very clear, like, metaphors. There's like a brain, there's a lot of stuff going on here. But that being said, I thought that this movie was very, very engaging. I thought that the craziness when it went down, like we were talking about earlier, I love the score. The drums go crazy. Surreality, stylized stuff, deep theme, strange medium, and breakcore all in one. Could I ask for more? I'm telling you, this is exactly like the pot of stew in film that I really like. It's like something that I would love to make myself, just because I think that making something that is surreal with weird imagery and like using music and the editing style and like the black and white weird visuals, all like putting that together, I think this one just works very cohesively and very well. And I think it was just very, very well done on the budget that they had. I don't think any of these actors are anybody really notable. And I feel like that happens often. I was saying this actually with Night of the Living Dead. It's like nobody from Night of the Living Dead really gone on to have a big career, none of the actors. And I feel like that's common for a lot of like earlier directorial outings. Example, like Christopher Nolan, when he did Following, another black and white film like this one, early on now, very big director. So the main guy here, he's been in 2 Darren Aronofsky films. He's been looks like a rom-com with Mark Ruffalo and not much else. Who else we got here? We got Mark. Let's see, is this guy big? Oh, again, more Darren Aronofsky. Okay, he was in Scarface. I stand corrected. He was in Scarface. And Ace Ventura, Pet Detective. A few other Darren Aronofsky films. Gone Baby Gone. That's good. Daredevil. Notable. Okay, he was in a few things. Okay. This guy. Ben Schenkman. Blue Valentine. Trial of Chicago 7. Quiz Show. That's a great movie. I do like Quiz Show quite a bit. Okay. I just stand corrected. Just the main guy. They always cast leading men and then they just are just generic white dude. And then they fade off into obscurity. Going into more spoilers here. I know you've seen it, Lost Rivers. But me liking this movie and saying that it's smart but also digestible at the same time. So we have this guy, this man. What's his Maximilian. I think he just goes by Max. Max, he's a math whiz. He goes he doesn't really do much, honestly. He's like in his house. He has his computer and he's like doing all these like weird things, trying to figure out what pi means, playing the stock market, finding patterns. He says that everything in life is a pattern. Everything dials down to numbers. If you look hard enough, you'll be able to find these patterns, and that everything can be predicted. Everything in the world has a pattern, and he's trying to figure this out. And the obvious, literally the title, the obvious metaphor, pi being an infinite number, but it's so essential to mathematics equations. It's just something that goes on forever, and it's kind of an anomaly because, again, there is no end. And him going about his day, he's having these panic attacks. Yes, he has these panic. The very first scene of the movie is him literally just waking up in his bathroom. He has a bloody nose, and then he wakes up, and then he goes about his day again. He goes on his like really techie computer base in his apartment. He doesn't talk to anybody. He has like 3 locked doors. He's very reclusive, and he's just trying to figure out the universe. Really, he has this old man that he plays this game with. I forget what the game is called. We learn that he is seemingly on the verge of finding something, some big discovery. And then his computer crashes. It like prints out this just like a bunch of numbers. It crashes. Oh no, go crazy. And then apparently these numbers, he was like, whatever, these numbers, they don't mean anything. I messed up. I failed. Blah, blah, blah. He throws out the numbers. But apparently he found a pattern that the old man had once looked for, this 216-digit long number. But then also this guy he was talking at the coffee shop, he's part of a religion, and they were looking for a 216-digit number. And then also this woman who keeps calling him, being like, you're a genius, we want to talk to you. And he's like, no, please don't talk to me. I'm too cool for you. This woman and her Wall Street cronies, they're also looking for a 216-digit long number. But he threw out the number. What's going on? He has to try to figure it out. And she goes to talk to this old man for advice, being like, you quit. You quit trying to figure out the secret here. And then the old man says some wise words. He says, wait, what did he say again? Shoot, I'm forgetting. He says that if you're looking for patterns in things, you're always going to find them. If you're just looking for the number 216, you're going to find it everywhere because you're blocking everything else out. You're hyper-focused on the 216. If you were hyper-focused on 23, you would find 23 everywhere as well. This kind of reminds you of like, astrology people. You know what? If you like astrology, hey, that's fun. It's cool. It's fun. But it's like, you look for these patterns. Like, oh my gosh, my birthday is in September. And so that must mean this happens because this number related to this number. It's like finding out all of these things based on this like loose connection. If you are looking for a connection, you will find a connection. And so that kind of theory that he tells him kind of breaks apart his whole thing where it's like the world is all numbers and everything is connected. Everything has a pattern. But he doesn't see that. He's like, hey, old man, you gave up on your mathematics craft. Yeah, the 216, I think it is arbitrary. I mean, maybe he like took maybe Darren Aronofsky, when he's writing the screenplay, took the 216 from maybe like, a math concept or like something from religious text or something. Like, he's heard it more so far than I've heard 255 in the last month. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like, it could just be random. And so he's like, no, there's something on here. I have to find this piece of paper that I threw out. I gotta find this. But all while this is happening, again, having more panic attack. He's on the subway a few times, and the subway always seems like, where's he going? He goes to a coffee shop. He goes to his house. Why are you going out? What is going on here? And so I always thought the subway, since watching this movie 2 hours ago, I thought the subway might have been like, a weird middle ground that he's not actually there. It's kind of him imagining. Because there's a few scenes in the film where he's sitting on the subway, and then there's an old man reading a paper about like the stocks. He's like, I predicted it correctly. I knew this was going to happen, blah, blah, blah. But then the old man disappears. But then also, if he predicted it exactly correctly, maybe this is just his brain conjuring up this fake newspaper where he does things correctly to validate himself. But yes, I did think that the subway scenes were great. They were very surreal. So he's having these panic attacks. He sees ants everywhere and he keeps on like squishing them because there were ants in his computer, and that might have been one of the reasons why it went fried, or what he thought might have broke his computer. Who knows? With bugs in the computer. Exactly. See, this is what I mean by like the movie. It's like a lot of the symbolism. You can kind of get it. You can kind of understand it if you like think about it a little. But again, a lot of this movie, very metaphorical. So are the bugs real? Who knows? Okay, the things I actually did want to say about this movie. The last little bits of my analysis. Again, I watched this movie, like, it finished like 2 hours ago. And so in the part of the movie that I was just talking about, we had this number 216 from his computer crash. There's a 216-digit number. He threw it away. But then this number keeps popping up everywhere. He thinks that number is literally like the solution to life. He's going to figure it all out. Everything's a pattern. This number, he's going to like plug it in somewhere, and then it's going to all make sense. And then he gets kidnapped by this lady who keeps calling him, who are the Wall Street people. They're like, oh, this number, we have it here now, but it's only part of it. Give us the rest of it. And he's like, the rest is in my head. And also, he shaved his head at this point. It was crazy. He shaved his head. And then, so as he's being captured, he's like, it's in my head. No, I'm not going to give it to you. And then the Jewish people, the guy he was hanging out with, they come and save him. And then they take him, and then they capture him. What is happening here? And then they capture him, and they're like, give us this number. It's the secret to like our religion. We'll be closer to God if you give us this number. And so things are just going crazy. Everyone wants this number that's now in his head. And so at this point, I was like, okay, along what I've been saying all along, what I've been saying this whole time is like, it is a complex movie, but the way it unravels, I think you can understand that it's literally just like a metaphor for like religion and just life in general. So again, very broad concept. And I love when movies like hit it very broadly. Whereas you have like these two organizations, one very mathematical based. It's just like the Wall Street people. There's like, we're looking for patterns. We're going to solve the market. And then we have these religious people who are like, this number is literally going to like bring us closer to God and bring like whatever second coming. And so, I mean, there's like people trying to rationalize their existence with religion, with more scientific approach, more numbers based. And so it's kind of just like that fight and like what's the right answer? And in the end, he takes a drill to his head because he's the only one that knows the number. And then he seemingly becomes not a math whiz anymore. The irony of the film is he's trying to figure out the meaning of life by locking himself in a dingy apartment and not actually living life. Yes, completely agree. And in that sense, it's said, I think 3 or 4 times in this film, yes, drill to his head. Literally drill to his head. It said 3 or 4 times in this film. Again, at the very beginning, it also says that he almost went blind when he was 6 because his mom told him not to look at the sun, but then he did. And then he was blind for a bit, but then it all came back. But then that's when he had his first headache. And so this metaphor of him looking at the sun, that's kind of like what unlocked in him like this, I don't know, mathematical passion or something. The desire to figure out what life is. Maybe it's like a near-death experience and he's trying to figure out, or maybe that's like when he finally did figure out like his purpose and what he's supposed to try to figure out. Blah, blah, blah. Figure out. I keep saying figure out. But then in the end, when he has to choose like between these religious people, these Wall Street people, he has been bestowed this gift of this random number that seemingly unlocks the universe. And all of this knowledge has made him very unhappy. Again, he said he had his first headache after this event happened, after this knowledge was bestowed upon him. But then he takes a drill to his head to get that information out. And then we have a scene at the end where he's on a bench, and then a little girl comes up to him and is like, hey, can you do this math equation? He's like, no. So the moral of the story is ignorance is bliss. Live your life. And again, it's a very like stylized movie with this universal message, but I feel like most good movies does have a universal message for people to understand. Like I've been repeating literally like 5 times now. It's a digestible movie with themes that you can get behind and images that are weird and surreal, but still kind of add up in the end and make you feel good. I feel like a lot of his other movies aren't like feel good endings. But then this one, it kind of is, even though he puts a drill to his head. Maybe that didn't actually happen. A lot of the stuff in the movie that you see maybe actually didn't actually happen. Maybe actually didn't actually happen. What am I saying? Because we have metaphors for bugs in the computer. We have his brain just like in the subway, and he like tries to like pierce it with a pen. And then the brain is like in his sink, and he's just like mushing it all up. So it's like literally he's like trying to like analyze his brain and get the answers from his brain. He can't understand it. It's too powerful for his human body. And again, that's another one of the themes. It's like humans aren't supposed to know the secrets of the universe, really. We're just little creatures. We're sacks of blood and water. But no, I thought it all added up. Pun intended. I feel like there's one other quote in this movie that I wanted to say. I forget. I think it was the old man again. The old man always has the best quotes. So the quote that I mentioned earlier was like, if you look for patterns, you're going to find it because you're hyper-focused on it. And you could find a pattern with literally any number. But then he also said, if you start thinking the numbers, if you start taking a scientific approach with these numbers, it becomes numerics, not mathematics. Which is a weird statement, and maybe I'm saying it completely wrong. But all he was trying to say generally is that if he starts taking a scientific approach to trying to figure out this meaning of the universe, again, the old man having tried to do this previously, that he's not going to get anywhere. Because the main guy is saying everything is numbers, everything is math, everything is patterns. And if he starts to take a scientific approach, that's just going to limit everything. And so he needs to also incorporate, I don't know, maybe it's like feeling into it or something. And then the old man, again, old men always have wisdom, always. He also told the story of this, it was some famous historical figure, I forget exactly. It was like Pythagoras or somebody mathy. And they were like, he was trying to figure out if this thing was solid gold. And how did you figure out if this thing was solid gold in like the old times? They didn't know. He was trying to figure out, he was going crazy. And then his wife came down and told him, oh, go clean yourself. Go take a bath. Take a break. And that's what the old man was trying to tell him. And then when he went and took a break, he went in the bath, he put his finger in, and he saw that when he put his finger in, or when he got into the bathtub, the water raised a certain amount. And then he was like, displacement. Weight equals displacement in water. And that could help him figure out if it was solid gold or not. And the moral of the story was that taking a break is good. It lets your mind not just hyper-focus on one thing. Again, another lesson that he was telling him. But then all that Max got from that was that, the answers will come. And so, I don't really have much to elaborate on this point. I just thought it was a good quote. Good quote from good movie. But yeah, movie was good. Movie was great. 3.1415926535897932384626433833279. Oh, shoot. 508? Wait, no, 884 508 197. No, 502 884. Ah, shoot. I totally just messed it up. 279 502 884 197. Yikes. That is kind of an L. I'm sorry.